Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals. For today, December 11th, 2023, we'll begin with Ms. Kukla reading the preamble.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, December 11th, 2023. In compliance with notification requirements of the City's Open Meeting Law in Section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to call the roll, please?
Sure. Ms. Roca will be absent this morning.
Okay.
Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Olzer?
Present.
Ms. Faith?
I am here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members. We should state to the appellants that in this case, they risk a tie vote between the members. If there is a tie vote, the variance is essentially denied. The decision of building and housing will remain. So at this moment, we can ask for the appellants if they would like to postpone the case to a date. It would be sometime in January, so that we would have 5 members present for their case.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to postpone at this time? Anyone online? All right, looks like we're going to proceed.
Madam Chair, we do not have any withdrawals or postponement requests this morning.
Okay, excellent. So we can move forward. As a courtesy to city council members, when they are present, we move their cases to the front of the agenda. This morning, Councilman Kelly was first to arrive, then Councilman Slife. So we will move forward with calendar number 23-203. All parties for this case that are in the room, if you'll please move forward to the table.
You just grab an extra chair.
Okay. So, Ms. Holzer, if you can read the case.
Sure thing. Good morning, everyone. And before I start, Ms. Faith, should I have Ms. Wilson or will Ms. Brown be reading in the oath?
Ms. Wilson, would you like to do oath today?
Happy to do oath today.
All right. You may have to speak up just a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
That's much better. Thank you.
Yes,
You're
perfect.
breaking up just a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Our first case is calendar number 23-203. This is at 3029 West 117th Street. Lido Real Estate LLC proposes to construct a new bank building in a general retail business district, local retail business, and 2-family residential split zoning. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. There's also a note that CPC approval is required. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will go ahead and swear in all who are present to speak in this matter. Do we have anyone in the room who's present?
We do. We have four appellant members in the room.
Okay, perfect. So I will swear in those four first. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Reply with I do, your name and your address.
We'll start with you.
Chad Dasher, I do. 10313 Lorraine Avenue.
Thank you.
Danny Kelly, I do.
Thank
Three.
you.
Scott Monaco, I do. 1395 Windmill Lane.
Okay.
Bridie Matheny, I do. 107th Avenue, Suite 150, Chardon, Ohio.
Can you spell your last name for me?
Matheny.
Great, thank you. So just for everyone's knowledge, we do have a court reporter. She's not in the room with us, she's virtual. So we always like to make sure that if there's a spelling we want to be clear on or anything, we will ask you to spell your name.
Madam Chair, could we have the gentleman to the right of Ms. Matheny spell his name?
Yeah, Monaco, Monaco.
Okay, great. All right. Is there anyone online that we need to swear in? Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilson. All right, we'll do history of the property.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1941, a permit was issued to erect a retail store building. There was a note here stating that it was a beer parlor. In 1941, also there was an addition made to the basement. And in 1955, we see that there was a permit issued to erect a used car sales office frame. And then in 1982, a sign was erected on the property. And then, Madam Chair, there are no other permits or violations. Sorry, there are no other permits. There are some violations, but they are interior issues. And there are no variances on file.
Okay, nothing for its current use, huh?
No.
Interesting. Okay, do we know who's doing legal?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. If you'd like to read the legal standard for us, please.
Sure, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance from the requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Great, thank you. All right, who's going to be are you going to be the spokesperson? Or you're going to be all right.
Yes, please.
Ms. Matheny will be the spokesperson, so tell us what you'd like to do.
Sure. So I am Bridie Matheny. I am the attorney for Lido Real Estate LLC, who owns the property. And just so that you are aware, originally it was a property that consisted of 10 parcels, and it has been recently consolidated into one parcel.
Okay.
And so there are 3 separate zoning districts that consist of this property. The first is the general business, the other is the local retail business, and the third is the 2-family residential. 80% of the property, so 5 and 3 parcels, so 8 parcels that are now part of the one, do permit the bank use, which is what we are seeking to propose on this property. The remaining 2 parcels, or 20% of the property, is still zoned 2-family residential. We are seeking to obtain a use variance on that specific part that is zoned 2-family residential only, because banks are permitted uses in the local retail business district and in the general business district per the code. We do have design review committee approval, and it went to the City Planning Commission for conceptual approval, which was unanimously agreed and approved in October. And we are here appealing the nonconformance of the zoning with respect to the 20% of the parcel, which is zoned 2-family residential, but we are seeking to, again, have bank use. But if you were to look at actually this specific slide where it says impact on zoning neighboring parcels, And Scott Monaco might be able to speak to this on behalf of Lido. He is also here as an agent for Lido Real Estate. This was actually shown to some of the neighbors on the residential part of West 116th Street to show exactly where the variance is that we are seeking. And it is, if you were to look at the site plan, it's clear that there is screening that is going to be involved. There is going to be curbing, parking, and pavement on that part that's actually zoned 2-family residential, which is especially the zoning and the screening, this landscaping and the screening is very much akin to a residential use. This is not, the actual bank activity will be more so on the 80% of the property that allows such use. So we are seeking a use variance here from this board in order for us to allow us to have the bank and the minimal parking, curbing, and landscaping as a buffer between the residential parcel.
So is the building itself going to occupy essentially the footprint of the existing building?
When you say the existing, you mean the cabaret that is there now?
Mhm.
I believe that's accurate. It's moved though a little bit closer, if you will, to Western Avenue
Mhm.
than I think what the current building is.
Okay. And it looks like then there's 2 drive-through lanes and the drive-through lanes will exit onto Western?
I think entrance is, I believe that's accurate. I think there's only a right turn onto West 117th, and I think on Western, I think it's both ingress and egress is allowed.
Okay. And there's a traffic light at that corner of 117th and Western.
That's what I understand.
Yeah. I'm very familiar
Oh,
with
okay,
this, so.
okay.
That wasn't a question, it was really a statement.
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I pass that quite frequently, so.
Sure. And at the City Planning Commission, I will just mention in October, when we received conceptual approval, there was a note that they are going to now be going forward with final approval with respect to the lighting plan. And that also we should consider deciduous trees to the southern portion of the property, which is being considered by Lido. So in addition to the landscape plan, I apologize, that's actually part of our presentation that we submitted. It's a page 10 or 11, not necessarily this impact.
Have a better slide.
Sorry about that.
So the trees that are put in to buffer to the east, are those conifers or those deciduous?
They're canopy trees, they're evergreens. So I would say
Okay.
they're coniferous.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know my trees. I apologize.
conifers are evergreens. so,
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay. So.
But there was a request to perhaps put deciduous or some sort of other screening in addition to the southern part of the property.
Yeah, I could see that that would be a plus. Yeah,
And in addition to what we are seeking, we did reach out to many of the neighbors, the surrounding neighbors directly surrounding, including Advance Auto Parts, which is a retailer, and then some of the residential neighbors. And we submitted, I think, a zoning letter of support. They're the ones that we were able to reach out to are in support of this project.
okay. All right, did we have any statement from the Shell station?
No, I was not able to reach an appropriate party.
Okay,
From the Shell station. So it was primarily the only retailer that I connected with was Advance Auto Part next door. Their staff was thrilled, kind of tongue in cheek, like, hey, we don't have to canvass our parking lot in the morning now.
yeah,
So they were thrilled. They were not able, just corporate policy would not allow them to give a statement, but I spoke to the team at the site. They were excited. And then I did actually have the opportunity to speak with the store manager. She again was in full support and was thrilled with obviously the activation of that whole corner with, certainly a congruent business versus what's existing there now.
and any conversation with the folks across the street at the storage facility?
No matter.
Okay, all right, because they're kind of involved in that intersection. Okay, any other correspondence, Liz?
I don't see any in the file. I'm not sure. Did you see any in our?
I didn't get anything.
Mailbox?
Okay, all right,
Other than from the councilman.
okay, great. So are you done with your
I am,
portion?
unless Councilman Kelly would like.
Well, I'm gonna go down the
Okay,
road.
thank you.
so Let everybody chime in. So do you have anything else to add?
No, I was each conversation I had with the residential neighbors as well as the retailers was dispelling all the rumors about what's happening on the corner. Every party was just relieved again with the activation and a significant investment. I spent a considerable amount of time with the resident directly to the east across on the east side of 116th Street. He seems to serve as the neighborhood watchman, and
Okay.
was just aware, thrilled again with the investment of the landscaping to turn into a park-like setting, and was gung-ho with the use. The home, I just want to make sure my direction is correct. The residents immediately south on the west side of 116th is vacant and dilapidated. I included a shot of that. So I spoke to the neighbor next south, and she was really well. She's raising a young family and just said, I don't agree with what goes on there now. Happy to see, some commerce come to the corner.
Yeah. Can you share with us what bank it is?
Yes, it's Bank of America.
Okay.
And we do have a lease with Bank of America.
There you go.
Yeah, I did share with all the parties that I had discussions with some of the elevations and color schemes. We looked for it to be congruent with the neighborhood.
Right. Chad, maybe you know the answer to this question, or Danny, Councilman Kelly. The northbound RTA, do we have a stop there?
No, we do not. Oh, the bus?
Yeah. Do you
Good
know?
Question. Not too, there's,
Southbound is close, but I don't know about northbound.
I would be surprised if we didn't. I don't know for sure, but
Yeah.
with all the other retail that's going on there,
You know where I think it is? It's by the BP.
yes.
So it's about a
it's
block,
all-
it's about a block
It's
south.
all relative.
Yeah.
With all the stuff there, they need RT in both directions.
Yeah, yeah. So that's important just because in this particular neighborhood, public transit is highly used. And so you'll be within walking distance of a block or two from both the northbound and the southbound stops.
Okay, great.
So that's good to know. All right, Councilman Kelly?
Lady Faith, I'm just happy that the go-go joint is gonna be gone. You know, the residents are happy about it. No disrespect to that business there, but I'm happy that we have, getting some new businesses,
Yeah.
working very vigorously on CVS's and different things as well. So this is part of, turning Ward 11 into what we want it to be.
Right,
So thank you.
right. Thanks. Mr. Dasher?
Chad Dasher, Associate Director, Westtown Community Developments. Working in this neighborhood for 25 years now, and the problems on and off at this corner. But now, this is a welcome thing to the neighborhood. Banks are good things to have, and I have extreme faith in the design review process that this went through.
Mm-hmm.
The landscaping, everything. There's nothing I really don't like about this, and we support it.
Great, okay. I think that the Chase seems to be expanding a lot, so I think this is a nice addition to this particular area, so.
And Madam Chair, may I just make one other comment?
Yes.
We did receive demolition permits with respect to the two residences that are there that are
Mhm.
vacant, and also the cabaret, so that will be moving forward.
Okay, so you've got demo permits already.
Well, I'm sorry, we have approval for demolition, we actually have to get.
Okay, so
Thank
demo's
you.
approved.
Correct.
Okay. All right. City planning, you want to chime in on this?
Maurice Rowland, City Planner. There's really not much more to add to this. This is a fantastic project. I think this use is probably the best case scenario for this corner. It really is a nice addition. It's much better than, no disrespect to fast food, but with it encroaching into the neighborhood the way it is, a bank is a much better use because you don't have 3 o'clock in the morning, people coming in for Taco Bell or whatever. So this is a great use. My only comment would be that had you considered a board-on-board fence on the south property line where the auto zone is not? So it's really only this portion. Now, I know you have there's a big depth of landscaped area. I just think that would just be another border that you could put, whether you put some landscaping in front of it and then put the fence. And I guess depending on how dense the landscaping is. As you know, when you put landscaping in, it can be very small and it can take years to mature and
Right.
actually get the screening that you need. So, I mean, you could even do a board-on-board fence on West 116th and wrap around. I'm not sure I don't want to make that as a recommendation, as a condition, but it is a recommendation, I think.
Part of our conceptual approval, we did discuss that, to your point that it might take a handful of years for the landscaping to mature.
Right,
The bank doesn't want to fortress off.
Yeah, I get that too.
But that, at least until the landscaping matures, that is a consideration.
Right, and maybe even a 4-foot high fence.
Sure.
So you're not going to 6 feet, and my concern is, although you're probably not gonna have it, it's a bank, so you're not gonna be up late at night, but I always think about headlights shining into people's houses and things like that, and even at 4 feet, it would probably stop that.
Sure.
Right, but I totally get the fortress idea with the bank, you want it
Yeah,
to be open
yeah.
for security reasons, if nothing else.
For sure.
But that's the only item I
Good
can think
point.
of. Otherwise, again, I think this is a great project, I'm happy to see it
Appreciate
go
that.
forward.
yeah, I had the same thought, Mr. Ruins, with regard to the drive-through lanes,
Mhm.
for the ATM. ATMs are 24/7. So I think, and if we've got residents right to the east, you could have headlights coming through there. So I think it would be appropriate
Mhm.
to do some fencing to try and mitigate that, particularly since even if you're going to use evergreens on that particular side of the border,
Mhm.
they take a while to fill in.
We've also
So-
considered, again, with the fencing that may exist even when the landscape matures, kind of mounting that up. Even a change in elevation 2 or 3 feet.
Correct.
Should address
Yeah.
the light pollution.
Yeah,
I agree with you. That's another suggestion.
Sure.
That would be a lot cheaper, obviously, than the fence,
Sure.
but would also probably get the same result. And you do have a huge area to do the mounding. A lot of times you're really constricted, but you have
Right.
plenty of area to do a decent mound.
right, exactly. So is that something that you would be willing to do?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great, okay. So the mounding or the fencing and or both? Both? Okay, all right. So we're gonna put those as conditions for your variance. So we'll do landscape mounding. And board-on-board fence, which is our standard. Okay, all right, board, any questions or comments? Ms. Brown, anything? No? You're muted, so I'm watching your head shake.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Holzer, Ms. Wilson?
Nothing from me, Madam Chair.
Yep, no comments from me. Seems very straightforward.
Agreed.
Okay, right, I agree. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
All right, Madam Chair, I would move to approve this variance with the condition that there is landscape mounding and board-on-board fencing installed.
All right, and that would be on the east perimeter.
Thank you.
And you might want to explore the south, but we're not going to make that as a condition. Are you comfortable with that? Okay,
Yeah, and on the south side, you really only need to go the half lot where the residential is, because you don't need screening between AutoZone and
yeah,
the bank.
okay, great. Okay, so we have a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Thank you. Ms. Kukla, if you'll call the vote.
Sure, Madam Chair, would you like a site plan, an updated site plan with this as well?
Can you do that for us?
Yes, but you want the mounding? and then
Yes,
with the
just
fence.
drop that in for a site plan so we can have it in the permanent record.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Bigg.
Yes,
Calendar number 23-203 is granted conditionally. We'll ratify it next Monday if we have that revised drawing. If not, we'll hold it till the next hearing and then we'll send the letter in.
Great, all right. Thank you very much.
thank
for
you.
your time.
Yeah, good. It's gonna be a good
Good luck.
project.
Appreciate that.
Good to see you.
Always good to see you at the lake.
Mr. Dasher, good to see you
Good to
too.
see you
Been a
too.
long time. And Dave?
Hey, brother, always good to see you. We always
Nice to meet you.
So always spot on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Are you gonna be with us for both of your cases?
I was coming for this one.
Yeah, they are the same.
For the, okay. Oh, they're the same, okay. Bundleable or no? Probably not, right?
One at a time.
Yeah. Bio first, violation first?
Violation.
Yeah, okay. All right, Ms. Holzer, we're gonna move on. We have Councilman Slife with us, so we're gonna move on to calendar number 23-177. We're gonna do that first. And then, once we conclude that, we'll move on to 23-195.
Sounds good. Our
So-
next case is, oh,
Go ahead.
then our next case is calendar number 23-177. This is a violation notice at 3703 Warren Road. John Abbott, owner, appeals under the authority of section 76-6. Sorry, I heard, did someone have something to say? Sorry.
We just,
Sorry, that was me.
yeah, we
Oh,
just,
okay.
we have people moving about in the room.
Got it. I'll continue. So appeals
Yes.
under the authority of 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from notice of violation number V230-23726 issued on September 7th, 2023 by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with section 258.03 of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances regarding height and location of a 6-foot tall opaque fence. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in all who are present for this case. I'm noticing there are people in the room, so we'll start with the people in the room. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand, reply with I do, your name, and your address.
We'll start with Councilman Slife, since you're at the end.
I do, Charles Slife, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you.
I do, John Abbott, 3703 Warren Road.
Thank you.
I do, Bill Bartley, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Okay. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak in this matter?
We're not done, Ms. Wilson.
Oh, there's more. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
can't.
there's more.
So sorry. Let's keep them going.
I do, Liza Ickes, 3671 Walk Court.
I'm sorry, last name again?
ICKES.
ICKEAS? ES. Okay, thank you.
I do, Michael Ickes, ICKES, 3671 Walt Court.
All right.
Robin Arbogast, 14626 Grapeland Avenue, on behalf of 3671 Walt Court, I do.
And Robin, if you can spell your last name for us?
ARBOGAST.
Thank you very much. All right, that, is there anyone online for this case? All right. Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
No problem.
All right.
Madam Chair, there is a bit of history, only that, and the appellant will explain further. There was a permit issued in 2019, and then there was a violation notice issued this year in September.
September.
Yes.
All right. Do we have legal standard?
Yep, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is appealing a violation notice from the Department of Building and Housing. The standard for review to be applied is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by a preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, then the administrative decision must be affirmed.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Abbott, do you want to tell us,
Yes,
What's
I
going
wrote
on?
something down, makes it easier for me to share. So it's a little bit of history, as she said, early in 2019, my wife and I decided to replace an existing 3-foot picket fence that we had in our backyard with a 6-foot privacy fence. The existing low fence tightly followed all the property lines, including a 40-foot stretch along my neighbor's driveway and a 24-foot section along the sidewalk on Walton Court. I was aware that a taller fence would require a different placement in order to provide proper sightlines. So I proactively called Inspector Davis, who I had previously met during our kitchen renovation. Mr. Davis kindly came out and we discussed what needed to be done to comply with code. The two main alterations he brought up were pushing the existing fence line along Walton Court on the sidewalk back 4 feet and adding an angled corner section by my neighbor's driveway for sightline clarity. Everything else I was told at that time could stay the same. In June of 2019, same year, I hired Elyria Fence, who applied and received a permit from the city of Cleveland to build a 6-foot full privacy fence, reflecting the code requirements spelled out by Mr. Davis.
when was that?
June 2019.
Thank you.
That permit was approved and the project was completed mid-August of that year. Same year, in an effort to beautify the 4-foot area in front of the new fence, we had 3 large magnolia bushes installed along with some ground cover and a decorative border to complete the landscaping. Almost a full year later, Mr. Davis paid me a visit due to a complaint about the fence. He performed a quick inspection on site with a tape measure and concluded the fence was fine, no code problems. However, he informed me that the 3 magnolia bushes were a violation because they weren't on the original plans. This was a surprise. I was not aware I needed permits for trees. I asked if the boulder was a problem. Mr. Davis said no, as long as it was under 30 inches, it's fine. I inquired about future plannings to replace the magnolias he wanted me to remove, and I was told that 36 inches was the threshold and to maintain sight lines. All of this was kind of unexpected, but it all seemed very reasonable to me. So in an effort to show good faith, I complied, and I moved those 3 large bushes at some expense from that area inside the yard on the other side of the fence. In spring of 21, the void left by the transplanting of the magnolias is filled with 3 new sweet spire shrubs. That's a mouthful. They were chosen because of their beauty and their height. They would stay as low bushes with proper maintenance.
What was the species again?
Sweet spire.
Sweet spire. All right.
Once again, over a year later, in the summer of 2022, I was approached by my neighbor immediately behind me who asked, well, what was going on with all of this? And she motioned to the general area of the shrubs. I replied that it was my understanding that everything was in code. She claims that the shrubs blocked her view coming out of her driveway and that she was going to check with the city about it, to which I encouraged her to do so. August of that year, 22, Mr. Davis pays me another visit. There's been a complaint, and this time it's about the bushes. Once again, I'm surprised, and I reference our last conversation about keeping things under 36 inches. He claims at that point that he never said that, and the bushes need to come out because they weren't on the original submitted application by Elyria Fence. I asked again about the boulder, trying to solve any potential problems in one shot, and I am told, quote, no one said anything, i.e. complaint about the boulder. He recommends I resubmit a site drawing to the city if I want to have plantings, but warns that I might open up further scrutiny of the fence because, quote, the fence may have been within code at the time, but may not be now. At that point, I politely exit the conversation and I promised to address the situation. Everything about that exchange with Mr. Davis did not seem cricket to me, so I contacted Councilman Slife and I asked him to look into the matter, which he kindly did. January of 23, I'm informed by Councilman Slife that after conferring with Chief Building Inspector Bartley about the latest complaint, he was told that the shrubs conform to the sightline ordinance and there is no violation. 6 months later, July 23, this year. Mr. Bartley called me directly, and this time the complaint is about the fence. Once again, I defer to Councilman Slife. It's at this time that he tells me that Mr. Bartley has informed him that the original permit from 2019 is in fact an error. He recommends we go through the established protocols within the city to resolve this. September, Mr. Bartley and Walter Vajussi stopped at house. We had a good conversation about the situation. Collectively, we agree the best course of action is for them to issue me the formal violation and for me to appeal the violation to the zoning board. September 14th, I received a written violation. I go to City Hall to initiate an appeal after sharing the details of this situation with Ms. Kukla. She recommended that I also apply for a variance for the fence that exists right now. And that gets us up to date.
That brings us to where we are.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you want to wait till last? Okay, Mr. Bartley, you want to fill us in on, from your perspective then?
Sure. As the appellant, Mr. Abbott, explains very accurately the events of this case. I did receive phone calls about complaints about the ability for the neighbors to see, people walking up the driveway, the sidewalk with, while they're pulling out their driveway. That was earlier this year, I think January, February. So I went and took some time, and we had met with Commissioner of Building and Housing, Commissioner of Zoning, and we went in and looked at the record and discovered that permit, the fence is actually non-conforming. At the time the application in 2019 was submitted, some information was left off the drawing, and that fence was approved to be installed in that manner. The installation was performed and done in that manner and approved in that manner. Like I said, after our research earlier this year, we discovered that because of the sight lines, there are some alterations that are required in regards to opacity, height, and being in the corner there. So the fence in its current condition is, non-conforming to ordinance 358.03, the site ordinance. And I do feel it is, hazardous. As you watch, you cannot see people coming down the sidewalk from that driveway. So the violation was issued by Inspector Vajussi. I dispatched him, as Mr. Abbott explained. We met him on his property. We issued the violation notice on September 7th, 2023.
And the inspector's last name is spelled?
Vajussi, V-A-J-U-S-I.
All right, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and what changes did you recommend then?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
excuse me, the person who's speaking, can they identify their title or the capacity in which they're speaking?
certainly.
Yes, again, my
Mr.
name's Bill
Bartley?
I'm Chief Building Inspector with the City of Cleveland.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the microphone is here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a little confusing.
I
'cause-
apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. Happens all the time. Okay. All right. So what changes were recommended then?
I didn't recommend any changes. I recommended he appeal the violation. I did also recommend to apply for a new permit. Make any changes and then be denied and then be offered a variance meeting or an adjudication on it. So this can be resolved, in the established forum. People can have their voices heard.
Right, okay.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Mr. Hartley.
Yes.
What information was missing from the permit that would have caused you not to issue it?
The driveway, the neighbor's driveway. And the lot next door, what it looks, it's the details of it.
So a site plan
Right.
was submitted. Was it submitted by the contractor?
It was submitted by Elyria Fence on 8/8/18,
Okay.
2018. And it, like I said, it did not include any detail of the neighboring property at 36. 3621 Walt Court, 71 Walt Court.
Okay. All
Do
right.
they usually? I thought they usually show the parcels where the work is going.
So they did a site plan for the appellant's lot
Yeah.
for the fencing that they were going to install, but the site plan doesn't include any adjacent property.
I got
So,
that. My question is,
yeah.
does it usually for all other permits?
That's a question to you, sir.
I'm not the plans examiner. That may be a question for the commissioner. Typically, when I do inspections, we do have information from the adjacent property on the site plans. I don't know if the plans examiner should have reached out to the contractor. No.
Okay, let me ask you this, sir, Mr. Abbott. Did you do a professional survey and did the surveyors do a site plan showing any adjacent properties?
Not that, I don't think so, because there was an existing fence there. I don't know that they had reason for that. I don't think there was anything done other than the drawing that she had.
Yeah, but you didn't hire a professional surveyor
No.
to do the lot. Did you have a question, Lawrence?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to say that what's on screen is what was issued. So the
Right.
drawing is what the permit, which is on the other side of the screen, is what was issued from.
Okay, all right. Is that clear, Ms. Brown?
Oh, very clear, but it
Okay.
doesn't answer if there was, what's customary? What do they normally see?
Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Riccardi online that could.
Okay. Mr. Riccardi, can you shed some light on this question that Ms. Brown has with regard to if the adjacent properties are required to be on a site plan like this for the permit?
Yes, this is Richard Riccardi, zoning administrator. We would require driveways on other properties, and I believe that that's probably why this permit was issued, because that driveway of the neighbor was not listed on the site plan. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right, I'll move on to you folks.
So as far as the timeline of the fence and things that were going on, when the fence was being constructed, my husband, a neighbor, somebody who's frequently at our house, was told that it was going to be 6 feet and taper down to the sidewalk,
Madam
which
Chair,
is what was on there before.
sorry to interrupt. Can we have the neighbor please state her name?
Liza Ickes.
Thank you.
So, that's what we were told was coming onto that.
It was going to
property.
slope
It was gonna
downwards.
slope down. Once the fence was up, my husband, the next door neighbor, and the person that has frequented our house, did discuss with Mr. Abbott that there was issues with being able to see pulling in and out. And he said it was to code because there was an angle that was along our driveway. And the contact in 2020, because the fence was put up, then the trees were put up, and now we really can't see. So the fence had not been approved based on the sightline code. Never imagined that how that got approved in the first place, because there is a code regarding 6-foot fences or any fence that's not 75% see-through or 2.5 feet or whatever being put along a driveway. So there was a contact to Building and Housing to say, this violates the code that we're seeing as far as sightlines. And then we were told that that code did not apply to that fence. So trees were moved. And then as far as when the next thing came in 2020, a notice came out because a fence was being built across the street that's a mirror image. And there was a variance hearing for that fence for the exact sightline code. So that fence does have to comply to that sightline code or have a hearing. So
When was that hearing for the other fence again?
2022.
2022.
You can actually see it in the two bottom photographs on the other side of the street.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah, but we can't see how it complies. So how does it comply?
that particular fence has two angles, doesn't have anything planted in front of it, and it's actually 11 feet off of the driveway that it's running along versus 30 inches off of the driveway.
Okay.
They were issued a variance for that. But it's definitely the setup along the driveway it runs along is very different and allows much more sight. If you have 11 feet between a fence and a driveway as you're pulling out. And the traffic is not along the side of their driveway. And they're looking here to see versus we're trying to look back to see across from us with what's coming in where traffic comes on along that side. And then the bushes continue to be pulled up. I don't know where or who or
There's
why
that
somebody would say 36 inches when it's
Thank you.
10 feet, which would be 30 inches, that something could be as tall as. And then when I asked about the height of the bushes and that they block, I also asked why I didn't get a variance notice for that fence. And he told me because the fence wasn't changed. It was 6 foot section at the beginning, tapered down to 3 feet or 42 inches or whatever with slats that you could see in between that went all the way around. So that's a significant change in the fence.
Okay. Sir, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I have to add, Mike Ickes, we have had, I know I've had at least 2-3 instances of, as far as the kids playing, like throwing balls that coming home, just to happen to be at the right time, as far as timing, to where kids running out of the driveway and pulling in. And then I know with people walking, actually the top right picture, folks tend to walk in and around the cul-de-sac in the court to where they've been walking down the sidewalk, and then you're surprised by their surprise and you're surprised. You're backing up and all of a sudden they stop. I've had that happen just a couple times. So it is a hazard. Basically, try to be careful, but I did ask our insurance, well, who's at fault if we do hit somebody and there is an accident and a child is hit, whether it be our neighbors across the street or there's another house that has young children, who's at fault if the fence, was approved, whether it be an error or not. I mean, I know as far as trying to be careful, but accidents do happen, but no one's been able to answer that for us.
Okay. All right, so you've explored liability issues. All right. And, ma'am?
Hi, yes, Robin Arbogast. I'm a friend of the Ickeses and I'm at this house very frequently. And I've had almost a near miss of someone pulling in the cul-de-sac because when Warren Road backs up with traffic, they immediately turn right thinking it's a cut-through street. And they just come in flying.
Sure.
And I've been backing out and I go cautiously, but still coming out. They come slam on their brakes and honk their horn, and it is definitely a concern for pulling in and pulling out. You can't see. Also, another issue was one of the neighbors across the street. They were on scooters and coming down the fence and they're little children, and they're not going to play on Warren Road. Their house faces out Warren Road. They're not going to play on Warren Road. They're going to play on Wall Court. And I've come backing out, and all of a sudden here comes a kid whipping around on a little scooter. So it's definitely a concern.
Okay. All right, board, any questions for the folks that have spoken so far? All right, Councilman?
Sure. Thank you. And as kind of the history bears out, this has been a confusing one and a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, no one takes the safety of children in the neighborhood more seriously than me. I myself have 2 young kids. I do think though that, you know, we are working in many ways around the neighborhood, like on right-of-ways and other places to slow traffic down.
Right.
And I do believe that the first key to child safety and driving is to proceed slowly. This is a very small street. It's surprising that people can drive so quickly down it because it's only 200 feet long, maybe. So, you know, I just, in backing out of any parking spot or anything else, you know, just keeping it slow, because no matter if there are perfect sight lines, you know, people can still crop up. But, you know, really the primary thing I think is that we've had many cases. It's very common that we get these fence cases on corner lots. And we know that the Planning Commission staff are working on updating the code because in many cases, our fence code simply does not accommodate the reality of having a corner lot. And it's also very common that people build a fence without recognizing that you need a permit. And very often they are coming to this board at this stage, retroactively seeking authority to pull a permit and make it legal. I think what's unique in this case is that the permit was applied for, it was approved, it was closed out. I'm a little confused myself on to Ms. Brown's questions about the obligation of showing surrounding properties and also on showing landscaping. You know, we don't permit, you know, I can plant a tree in my front yard if I want to plant a tree. I'm a little unclear about the necessity for landscaping within a fence permit plan. But at the crux of it, you know, I think that the city of Cleveland is at fault here for having approved a non-conforming fence through no fault of Mr. Abbott. Mr. Abbott has actually been, you know, very conciliatory in working with the city as the city has come forward. But I think in this case, this is a fence that we have precedent for approving in other locations. The permit was sought and approved, and I don't think it's fair or reasonable to expect someone to remove something that they believed was in legal compliance.
Mr. Abbott, in looking at, do we have the view of the house across the street, that fence? Thank you. Mr. Abbott, would you be open to altering the fence so that it reflects the changes that were made to that house across the street with the angles on the corners?
It would be at considerable expense to do such a thing. It was a specialty fence. It was a custom fence. The posts are galvanized steel into concrete, and also the plantings on the other side there would all have to be moved. It would be a considerable project to make that same angle, which would actually, if we were to mimic that angle across the street, would add maybe a foot of that angle.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Holzer.
My understanding is right now with the current case, we're just hearing whether or not we would be upholding the violation notice. The next case is for the actual offense, and it sounds to me like we would be, I apologize, I'm losing my voice, talking about those modifications in 23-195.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Right, right. I was in fact getting a little ahead of myself there on that question, but with Councilman's comment, it just brought that to mind for me. So do you have any other questions or comments, board?
Madam Chair, if the board members would like, we could possibly have our attorney read the legal standard again.
Right.
If they wanted
Ms. Ix has a comment.
Unless you're in our driveway, I don't think you can comment as far as how people are coming in or out. When we're pulling out, when I am at the sidewalk, all I can see is the fence. So I have to pull into the sidewalk or into the apron to see if somebody's in the sidewalk or pulling into the cul-de-sac. So I could go as slow as I want to that time, but I can't see. I still have to get into the sidewalk to see. As far as saying, I didn't know that I had to put my driveway or wasn't aware it'd be a problem. This is the third fence that's gone up. And the first two were to see-through. That permit was to be 75% see-through. It was possibly 50% see-through, but we could still see because it was low enough and had slats in between. So did not feel it had put anybody at risk. We could get in and out. So if you wanted a privacy fence, because at one time there were 6 feet that went across and 2 sections to give them more privacy, then why wouldn't you have put that up, the whole privacy at that time? The driveway was left off. We were told it was going to taper as it went down. That's not true, because as you can see on the drawing, there's no taper. To tell me the reason you didn't need a variance is because you didn't change your fence. That was the answer. That's not true. The fence significantly changed from a 42-inch or so fence with slats that we could see that went all the way around to a 6-foot solid fence. So this does not make sense based on what we have been told regarding the fence going up. The fence went up, so now I want it approved. The driveway was left off. There's a policy for that, and there's a reason for that. There's 4 kids flying around there playing or with their friends, and the cars do come into the cul-de-sac fast because they're stuck in traffic on Warren Road, and they come through thinking it's a cut through. They don't know it's a cul-de-sac. So they're going through as it's a street, not a dead end. I would never let my children play out there unless I was out there because of that. And normally I stood in the middle of the street to make sure they wouldn't get hit, so that they were protected. So the stories about this fence don't go together as far as getting it up and having what they wanted. So I don't agree, and if you don't use our driveway, then you're not really aware of all the issues. But even when I'm in the sidewalk, I still can barely see until I'm in the apron. The trees now, because it's been fall, kind of reddish, not as much leaves. In the summer, they're nice and green and big. They're up to 45 inches, 2.5 feet. That would be okay because it would be with the rock. They're 45 inches, so they might as well be small trees. And to say that you know the height of the trees and how big, I asked you, how big will these get? And you said you didn't know. That was Kelly's department. So.
Okay, we're not gonna do any more.
No, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, the picture of what's being painted is not the picture of what has occurred.
Okay,
And this hasn't been something that was just brought up. Unfortunately, due to delays or not getting returns or whatever's going on, this has been something that's going ongoing. And as far as when this started the second time, was back in, it's been 15 months of getting to where we are at the table today.
okay. All right, Mr. Bartley, you have anything else to add at this point?
I do not.
Okay. All right, board, do you feel like you need the legal standard reread?
Would like that, please, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Okay, great. If you could reread the legal standard for us, Mary?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is appealing a violation notice from the Department of Building and Housing. The standard of review to be applied is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, the administrative decision must be affirmed.
Okay, any further questions or comments, board?
I'm confused.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Board Member Wilson. And based on what I'm hearing, the testimony is clear that the city made this property owner feel as though this fence was legal. There were several instances where the inspector indicated that there wasn't a problem. Furthermore, the permit was approved. And so to now come back and change their position to me seems arbitrary. So for that reason, I would not affirm the violation notice based on the legal standard being, arbitrary.
Okay, could I have a second?
Member Brown, I second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Could you call the vote?
Sure, Madam Chair, just to be clear, Ms. Wilson is upholding the request of the appellant to
I believe that. Ms. Wilson?
overturn the decision of the violation.
Ms. Wilson, you are upholding the request of the appellant, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have Ms. Holzer seconded.
Ms. Brown?
Ms. Brown seconded.
Ms.
and
Brown
I
seconded.
vote yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
And I thank you for affirming the motion because I was pausing, trying to figure out if I was supposed to say yes or no. So yes, I in favor of the appellant.
Thank you. Ms. Holzer?
Yes, in favor of the appellant as well.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, in favor of the appellant.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Calendar number 23-177 is approved. The violation notice has been overturned and the building permit that was issued, it's my understanding that the building permit that was issued will remain unchanged and in effect.
Okay.
This will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant and the city documentation of the ordinances.
All right. So we're on to calendar number 23-195, right?
So then the next question would be to the, to our attorney. Should we move forward with this case? Does the appellant need to request variance in this case at this point?
I would say no. I would think they would withdraw their appeal. Or their request for a variance.
If the appellant feels comfortable doing that, then.
Okay. So at this point, your second case, our attorney is telling us that you would ask for a withdrawal.
My reason for wanting the variance was to get in front of any further issue or problem.
All right.
Why would they recommend I not do that?
I mean, I guess you could go ahead with it if you.
And Madam Chair, for the record, this is a different permit application.
Correct.
And if the appellant can correct me, the site plan does show the driveway now, is that right?
The only site plan is the one that you had from the Larry fence.
Yeah.
So that is one issue if the board wants to, can't think of what the description says. The proper code section has been cited in the write-up.
Mm-hmm.
The site plan that was issued does not address what the inspector was stating about the
driveway
application not being complete. So
Okay.
that is an issue that the board could ask for clarification just to make the record complete as the applicant is requesting. So if the applicant wants to go forward, again, this is a different B number, it's a different application. I believe it's in the power of the board to grant a variance or review this case.
Okay. All right. Mary, so you heard what Ms. Kukla just said.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think he can go forward if he wants to, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Before you all do that, I mean, I just would caution the applicant because this second part could go against you. And we have 4 people today, and if it's tied, that goes against you.
Madam Chair, one more thing on that.
Yes.
It may be best for us to postpone it so that we can get a drawing or better aerial photographs or something to give a more thorough picture.
I think that's
board.
absolutely a great
I
idea.
apologize.
No, and I think that's
Yeah.
a great idea
Yeah.
because that gives me time to also find out whether or not I want to go forward with that. 'Cause
Right.
At this point, having even applied for the variance was going on counsel that I'm receiving. And so I'll go back to that with if we postpone that and we can have that conversation.
Okay, all right. So I think that is wise since we have 4 members. We don't have, we could gather some new information.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
Councilman, you comfortable with that?
I think that's pretty.
Okay, great. Okay, so, we'll postpone.
Sure. January 22nd or January 29th? January 22nd is the third week of the month. January.
How does that fall with holidays?
It is after MLK.
Okay, all right. So let's get it back on the 22nd then. All right, so calendar number 23-195 is going to be postponed to January 22nd.
We will send out a new letter to the
Right.
members as well.
So that'll be new notification sent out for you folks. All right,
Thank you very much.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who came down. Appreciate you.
Madam Chair, I hate to do this to Mr. Beegan, but another councilman came online.
Oh,
Councilman Starr is now here.
you got your coffee?
Good to see you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thanks. All right, just been informed that we have Councilman Starr online, so we'll be moving to calendar number 23-153. Do
Sounds
we
good.
have, let's just make sure, do we have appellants for this case online?
Yes.
We do, all right. All right. Go ahead and proceed then, Ms. Holzer.
Sounds good. Our next case is calendar number 23-153. This is at 3050 Nursery Avenue. Elizabeth Hallman, owner, proposes to expand an existing Type P daycare to a Type A daycare in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of section 337.03B, which states that a daycare use shall not be located less than 30 feet from any adjoining premises in a residential district. This case was postponed from September 11th to allow time for the appellant to respond to the res judicata. It was again postponed from October 16th, 2023 to allow time for the appellant to meet with the councilman and Community Development Corporation. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will go ahead and swear in everyone who is present for this case. It's my understanding that everyone is online. Is that right, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Maurice, can you move to the swearing in screen for me?
Sorry?
Oh, that's okay. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so for those testifying, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, your name and your address.
I do. Elizabeth Holloman, 3050 Nursery.
Okay, Elizabeth, can you spell your last name for us, please? I'm sorry, Councilman.
You said my last name?
Yes, please.
Oh, it's going to be Holllaman.
Perfect, thank you. All right, Councilman, go ahead, please.
Richard Starr, City Council, Ward 5, and I do.
Thank you, Councilman.
Is there anyone else who wishes to testify in this matter?
Marilyn Wasinski has her hand raised.
Marilyn Wasinski, are you for this case, ma'am?
I am. So I
All
do
right.
I do. Marilyn Moshinsky, Slavic Village Development, 5620 Broadway Avenue.
Thank you. If you could just spell your last name for the record, please.
It's M-O-S as in Sam, I-N-S as in Sam, K-I.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify in this matter? Okay, back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we've had history of the property. Let's
Oh,
do you have
sorry.
anything, do you have anything new?
Not sure if the legal standard has the raised judicata issue. I'll be happy to read it for you if it's not in her.
All right. If you'd like to go ahead with the legal standard?
Okay, yeah, and I don't see the race judicata on there for some reason.
All right.
I must have gotten it from a different, I'm not sure. Okay, Madam Chair, members of the Board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the minimum distance requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kukla is going to read the race judicata.
Sure. Madam Chair, this calendar is identical to the variance that was denied in calendar number 18-157, in which this board denied a request for a type A daycare. I believe it was the same owner. I can verify that quickly. Same owner, yes. Pursuant to Rule 8 of the Board of Zoning Appeals Rules and Regulations, this appeal is considered a refiling, which must be dismissed unless she can demonstrate a basis that would prevent the application of res judicata, including, number one, substantially changed circumstances. Number two, substantial new relevant evidence that was not available at the hearing on the prior appeal. Number three, that the application of res judicata would create manifest injustice. This appellant was made aware of this issue on September 8th, 2023. And we did hold a variance hearing on September 11th. There was testimony given by the appellants. I'm not sure if we had all the board members that were present at this time, so we may want the appellant to restate those facts. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Great, thank you. To the board members that are present today, do you recall if you were present on September 11th to hear testimony on this?
Member Brown, I was present.
Okay.
Member Holzer, I believe I was present. I'm going back through and looking.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, were you present with us that day?
I don't think I was present. This doesn't ring me, Madam Chair.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. All right, so Ms. Holloman, if you will, for the benefit of our board members, particularly Ms. Wilson, who was not present that day, if you would give us your testimony and particularly as it relates to significant changes that are related to the property. As I recall, I think there were no major changes to your structure, but I think the biggest change was that the house next door was no longer occupied.
Right. The house has been empty for up 2 years now, going on 3.
Okay. And what other changes did you have? Were there any?
What other changes did I have to my home?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't had any changes to my home. My home has enough space to operate a type A family child care home. So the only thing that is preventing that is the house sitting next door to me.
And you've been operating a childcare in that building, haven't you, for some time?
Yes,
Okay, and how many children do you have at this point?
I have 6.
You have 6, and you're looking to expand to 12, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and the neighboring house has been vacant for 2 years.
Yes,
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to talk with Councilman Starr?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
He can speak.
And also with Ms. Wojcicki from the CDC?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Is there anything else that you need to inform us of at this point?
Not really. I'm just asking for some grace on the house next door to me. That's it. I just want to expand my business, and I'm good at what I do. So I'm just asking for some grace.
Okay. Councilman, typically council people like to go last, or would you like to chime in before the CDC representative?
You can let Marilyn go, then I'll go last.
Okay, great. All right. Ms. Mazinski from Slavic Village CDC, would you like to comment, please?
Sure. Thank you, Council Chairperson. We did meet with Ms. Holloman regarding the house next door. We are working with her and through our housing department and through building and housing to discuss the house next door because it is vacant. It's an issue for the neighborhood. It seems to be vacant. It's an LLC that's, we're trying to track down and stuff like that. So we are trying to work with them to see if we can figure out a way to either get this out of their hands or figure out a different way so that this nuisance can come off the street. We've met with Ms. Holloman. She does run a really good daycare. The school across the street, so she handles with some of the children over there. So, when Councilman and I spoke, and I'm sure he'll also share this, we were supportive of this change for herself.
Okay. So the house next door is in an LLC, so absent landlord, is that the issue?
Yes, totally. Yep.
Okay.
Absentee landlord. We can't, and sadly, these are those ones that are down the rabbit hole trying to find the person who's responsible for the house.
Yeah. Okay. Councilman, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, thank you, committee, and thank you, Ms. Holloman, as well as Marilyn and Southwick Village Development for reaching out to my office and having a discussion. One thing I would definitely speak to is the work that Ms. Holloman has been doing in the community for numerous years. I've had the opportunity and pleasure to meet with her as well as SVD, but then also took it a step further and went over on Nursery and talked to different residents and everyone within walking distance or in travel around the school, which used to be Willow, but is Broadway Academy. And everyone speaks highly of the work that she's done. So I think that it's no brainer for me to support this project. I think she's going to continue to service more residents and more students in the neighborhood. If you're familiar with the Southwick Village neighborhood, there's quite a bit of kids and youth up and down Nursery, all throughout that neighborhood. And I think some of the work that she's doing is excellent. I did have a chance to speak to her. I even was able to give her my personal number so I can make sure she was able to reach me and make sure we do this. I think this is something that I definitely would like to support, similar to what SVD has mentioned. I don't see no reason not to support this. I think this is great for her to be able to service more kids. And then also from a step further, I have reached out to Building and Housing just to get more clarification on who is the property owner to that house so we can figure out what we need to do. So I am aggressively seeking ways to help support in that area as well. So I do support this opportunity to change this.
Great. Thank you so much, Councilman Starr. As often happens when we have a variance request before us, they sometimes become an impetus for change happening. And it sounds like maybe this is sort of triggered that vacant house, so something can be done to better the situation. particularly since it's right across the street from the school. So, the city planning, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, Maurice Rowan, City Planning. I think it's pretty easy at this point, after hearing all of the testimony. I think one of the problems might have been originally is that, that maybe people weren't aware of what a great job that the applicant was doing. And now that I hear testimony from both the CDC and the councilman that she runs a fantastic daycare, she's done good things for the neighborhood. Why would we not support this? So I would go along with the councilman's recommendation and the CDC and recommend approval.
Great, thank you very much. I think the information that we received today from the CDC and from the councilman were the key statements that were lacking previously, and the fact that the new information is the house next door that changes the dynamic and addresses the res judicata issue. So, any questions
Madam
or
Chair?
comments for it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Madam Chair, I seem to remember from the initial testimony, I went looking through my notes. I think the other additional information that Ms. Holloman shared with us is that if she is permitted to expand to the type A, I guess, daycare, she would use more of the first floor space of the dwelling for use of the business as she expands from or up to 12 kids. Is that correct, Ms. Holloman?
Yes, so I submitted pictures and when I applied for the variance. I don't know if you all found those pictures or not, but yes, and initially I was not using the first floor, the whole first floor, but now I have expanded to all the rooms on the first floor.
And I believe that is a substantial change that could allow the expansion of the business.
Yes, I think you're correct, Ms. Brown. As I recall, you were looking at the space plan when we last heard this case with regard to the expansion of the first floor. So I'm glad you brought that up again. Any other questions or comments, board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar 23-153, allowing the expansion from type B daycare to type A with the testimony and additional information showing an expanded floor plan and area for use for the business.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Okay, Ms. Holzer seconds. Ms. Kukla, if you'd like to call the vote.
Sure. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Fink?
Yes.
Calendar number 23-153 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter, but please feel free to contact our office on Wednesday for further instruction.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And you've got support from the council and the CDC, so you're set up for success, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Okay.
Is there anybody else in the room?
For a council person to walk in.
Okay. What case are you here for?
Last three.
Oh, the last three. Okay. All right. We'll move on then to calendar number 23-199.
Sounds good. Our next case is calendar number 23-199. This is at 2211 West 30th Street. Monroe Properties Clee LLC owner proposes to erect a two-story frame single-family residence with detached garage in a A1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the.
Madam Chair, just wanted to make one quick comment on the variances listed. I've had some discussions with the applicant, and item number 1, the pesky front setback issue has been resolved, and they will not need that variance. So number 1 is not needed.
Okay, so we can remove that off of the
Don't even
list. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if you could clarify, is that based on a new drawing since?
Yes, they submitted new drawings since it was to Building and Housing.
Okay. All right. I think we left off with Ms. Wilson.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct. I am ready to swear in all who are present in this case.
Okay.
Looks like we have someone in the room.
We do.
Okay, perfect. So do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, your name, and your address.
I do. Paul Began from Began Architectural Design, 15703 Madison in Lakewood.
Okay, is there anyone online who wishes to speak in this matter? All right, back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay. I hate to bring this up. Do we have a letter from the owner saying that you can?
I'm sure
Yes.
Susan did that.
Okay.
I was surprised that she did it.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
They get their stuff in weeks before
Yeah.
it's even due. They're the best.
I figured, given that you're a frequent flyer, that's probably taken care of, but it's just a point of business. Okay, so history of the property?
Sure, there's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1927, a permit was issued to erect a one-story addition. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the front yard. Well, no, I guess not.
That one has been fulfilled, so we just need
Yes.
number 2 and 3.
All right, from the minimum lot area, minimum lot width, and minimum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Great, thank you. All right. Mr. Began, would you like to start with your presentation on this?
Yes, this house is actually part of several different houses on a couple lots in this particular area. The way that the lots were configured, we're trying to do this since it's at a corner. This was a couple different lots. It's been reconfigured to as shown here. And right now, that particular area is vacant, so we're doing infill housing. We've been working on this one probably for about 1.5 years to work through with planning and through design review to get the most appropriate density and solution for the houses on this site. Given that there's no rear alley access and the width of the lots is not so great, the design solution that we came up with was to have an easement giving 3 of the properties access for a shared driveway, for an attached garage, for the ones that are on Monroe, and this particular house faces West 30th Street, is detached. It is, because of the easement, really the smallest of the lots. Obviously, there's some additional yard there that is driveway, but it is shared, so it doesn't necessarily count towards this particular property line.
So is it sharing driveway with the other?
It's shared driveway with the houses that are facing Monroe.
Okay. All right,
There you go.
got it. Okay, we have elevations.
Yeah.
Actually, before you go to elevation, Madam Chair, may I ask
Yeah.
a question about the existing house facing Monroe? It has no garage. You're not making room for a parking pad or anything?
So the existing house that is at the corner right now does have a curb cut. We do not have a garage per se. You can see right there, that house right there, right? They just park in the backyard. There's a little shed there, but I don't think it's even large enough for a garage. And it's just parked in the lot. So this proposed development of all these multiple structures would infill of these vacant lots, replace the house at the corner and the next vacant lot on Monroe Avenue, and give them all vehicular access so that we can minimize, doing any curb cuts. In fact, we're getting rid of one of the curb cuts on Monroe Avenue, which is
Maybe I'm not reading it correctly, but there's a curb cut off of 30th. And then
Yes.
that shared drive goes to the back of that existing house?
So the existing house at the corner is going to be demolished.
No, the one next to
and,
it.
and replaced. Oh, the one
That's
next
not
to
what
it.
I'm asking.
Yeah, that my client does not have that particular parcel. I do think if that owner were to reach out to him, I'm sure he would allow access to that driveway as well, if desired.
That is my question.
Okay.
No one has talked to that owner?
I think they've had lots of discussions, because I think this particular, my client, who's been around for a long time and done a lot of these infill type projects with us and not with us, has been in a lot of discussion with them.
Well, I may be making something out of nothing, but right now for that existing house, do they have access to their backyard off of 30th, or they don't?
They do not, no.
Okay, thank you. That's the answer I needed.
Okay.
Okay,
You can see right there, they do not.
yeah. Ms. Brown?
I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, Maurice is.
I thought I saw a car could get to them, but I see now the fence and everything. I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks. All right. Anything else in the presentation package?
No, we do have elevations. Again, these houses all have different elevations. One of the requests through our design review process is to give them a little bit different character to it. So we've made this one a little bit more on the modern side, but still keeping in line with houses similar, that we have a front porch and a front stoop on this, with the windows facing the street and the front door facing the street. So this will just have to be a little bit more modernly designed as far as the roof lines go.
Okay. All right, anything else on this one?
No, it's nice that this one, like the other ones, actually has a detached garage, so there's a little bit of a yard with this particular house. Even though the yard itself is smaller, because of the shared driveway, it does provide some outdoor space for the house.
Great. All right. So on this one, you've had, have you had city planning? You've had design review, right?
Yes.
And did you have city planning approval yet?
I don't know if we have done that yet.
Okay. All right. Maurice? Mr. Rowlands?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, so obviously we don't need the first variance, the front yard setback, which is good because you couldn't have granted it anyway.
Right. Always the issue.
Right, and it has been through, we don't have HDRS anymore, but I believe it has been through a design review with the department.
That's correct.
So they're fine there. And then number two is the standard variances that we're getting for new homes. And one of the standards I always use is whether they need any side yard variances or anything like that, and they don't. So in my opinion, that means you're not overbuilding the lot. And I don't think this is overbuilt in any way, shape, or form. And I also applaud Mr. Beegan, with the shared driveway arrangement.
Right.
We're exchanging curb cuts, but still we're getting more houses with rear garages, which is great. It would be nice if that third house in the middle would go along and also they'd be able to access a parking pad or something in the back, but that's up to them.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a requirement. It would be a benefit to them.
Right, would benefit them, but their choice.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's their choice. But good point, Ms. Brown, about the middle house. But so, yeah, we would recommend approval.
Great. Okay, board, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval for calendar 23-199, noting that item number 1 regarding the front yard setback has been resolved and is not part of our approval.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Thank you. Ms. Kukla, will call the vote.
Sure. Sorry. Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Bates.
Yes.
Calendar number 23-199 is granted based upon the revised drawings. We will ratify this next Monday and we will send the appellant a letter, but Mr. Beegan, please feel free to contact our office next Wednesday.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to calendar number 23-200.
All right. Our next case is calendar number 23-200. This is at 2242 West 11th Street. 2242 West 11 LTD proposes to erect a 36-foot by 55-inch below grade window. Is that correct? Should it say 36 by 55 inches?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a big window well if it was 36 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proposes to erect a 36-inch by 55-inch below-grade window well attached to an existing single-family residence in a G2 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will swear in all who are present for this case. Starting with those of you who are in the room, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, your name and your address.
I do. Paul Beegan, Beegan Architectural Design, 15703 Madison Avenue, Lakeland.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone online who would wish to speak in this matter?
I do.
All right.
Michael Clifford, 250 Plymouth Drive, Bay Village.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else online? Okay, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll have history of the property.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929. 1962, it was changed to the current zoning. We didn't find anything in our records administration office. There are no variances on file. We did find that in earlier this year, a rental registration was issued to this address. And that's all that I have.
All right, legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the interior side yard encroachment requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. All right. I assume you're going to be the spokesperson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I did not design this house. We're trying to solve a problem here that came with this house. Mr. Clifford is a representative of the ownership group that purchased this house. We were able to obtain the drawings that were prepared by the architect that made this house when it was originally constructed. They did show construction in the basement, but they labeled it basement. And it was actually constructed as a bedroom. So I'm not sure if it's point of sale inspection at some point after Mr. Clifford's group purchased this house, building housing came out and said, hey, you can't have a bedroom in the basement. You need to have an egress window.
Right.
Exactly. So we looked around at several different options and just given the location of this room in the basement, this made the most sense. The adjacent property does have, we saw that from the pictures if we need to go back, but there's a parking lot right there. The side of the lot is gravel with some pavers in there. And again, we're trying to solve a problem for this house that there is a bedroom that does not have an egress window. And putting it again in a location that makes the most sense for where the bedroom is located. We did look at possibly doing it on the other side. There is a driveway on the other side. That is less of an issue as all of the sanitary and water comes into the house from that side. So without having to relocate the sanitary and the water service that comes up that side of the house, if you saw from the floor plan, directly behind the bedroom is the mechanical room, and that's where the utilities go into in the basement.
So they run
There
to
we
the
go.
full rear of the house.
Yeah, so there's not any opportunity on that side, again, without having to relocate the utilities. And again, with the location where this is at, it's still behind the adjacent house. Looks like there would be room to get it. It would just, again, go into our 3-foot setback there to allow this room to have egress. So again, we're just trying to solve a problem for this particular.
When was this constructed? Do you know?
Mike, do you remember when this house was built?
I think it was 2018.
Okay.
I'm just curious, do you know who the architect was?
Not off the top of my head.
Just curious. But I'm sure I did have one other question. Is there going to be a grate or something over the top of this window well?
There is. The system that we have specified comes with the cover that goes over the top of it.
Right.
I have two questions. So is
Unintended.
this going to be rental property, renting it as a basement bedroom?
So this house does have a rental permit on it. And so the house is rented. So again, it's fit out as a bedroom right now in the basement. And again, we're just trying to, excuse me, make that bedroom a legal bedroom. We're not actually modifying anything in the basement to make this a bedroom. It's already kind of there and constructed.
So the whole house is a rental unit. It's not going to be this basement as a separate
No.
rental unit.
That is correct. This is not
Okay.
a separate unit.
Okay.
Oh,
Did you have
the
another?
basement is a separate unit.
No.
No, it's not a separate unit.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the whole house.
So,
And
excuse me.
and last question, I'm sorry, the parking lot, so people will be parking their car next to this window well?
It's not quite exactly where the parking lot is. It's closer up towards the back of the house. So if you look at the lower left-hand picture, right there, it's gonna be in that area, kind of near where that, yeah, between the back of the house and that 3-bay window.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a planting bed on the other side of it.
Correct.
Is that gravel area used as a walkway?
There are pavers there. I don't know for sure. It's set up that way to do it.
Is there a back door then?
There is
To the left of that,
there
of the
is a
3-pane
back
window?
door to the garage. So the garage for this unit is actually accessed off of that parking area.
Okay,
So this particular whoever's be renting this house has access to the garage through that lot.
okay. All right. Any other questions? What's the width of that gravel area?
It is, so the adjacent house is almost right on the property line. I think it's like, I think between the houses, there's about 4 feet, and we have 3 feet from the edge of the house to where the property line is. So it's approximately 4 feet wide.
Okay, so we'll have a
little bit of
bit,
space.
little bit of space. Okay. Okay. Anything else, board? Okay, hearing no other questions or comments, do you want to chime in here?
We would recommend approval of this.
Okay.
It's, you know, it's somewhat of a hardship that it was built and
Yeah.
they kind of missed the fact that they needed a window well for the basement. The other question I was gonna ask, how many bedrooms total then? Was it just 2 originally and then this makes it 3?
I don't remember from the floor plans. Mike,
Usually
how many bedrooms are upstairs?
3 upstairs.
3 upstairs.
3? Oh, wow.
Oh, so that makes this a 4.
A lot of that style is 2-bedroom, that's why.
Yeah, yeah, good question.
If it's anything like my household, I would send my oldest down to the basement. And
Yeah.
Let him have his own.
Let them have it. Yeah, have at it. All right. Okay, any further questions or comments? And again, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Board Member Wilson. I would move to approve this calendar item.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Ms. Holzer has the second. If you'd like to call the vote, please, Ms. Kukla.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Welch?
Yes.
Ms. Bacon?
Yes.
Calendar number 23-200 is granted. Be ratified next Monday. We'll send you a letter, but please feel free to contact our office on Wednesday, next Wednesday. Thank you.
All right. I feel like you should be home in bed instead of the last person in front of Boza today.
I did keep my coat and my scarf on.
Yeah, because it's a little drafty in here. Mr. Began is not feeling well, so we're just chatting about that. We're gonna move on to calendar number 23-202.
All right. Our last case for the day is calendar number 23-202. This is at 1940 West 54th Street. M&M Property Group LLP proposes to erect a 3-story frame single-family residence with an attached 2-car garage on a middle parcel in a B1 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 5. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Wilson for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I will go ahead and swear in all who are present for this case, starting with the people in the room. Um, I will ask Maurice to change the
Right,
slide,
okay,
please.
all right.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, your name and your address.
I do. Paul Began, Began Architectural Design, 15703 Madison Avenue, Lakewood.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone online who is present for this case?
I do. Michael Clifford, 250 Plymouth Drive, Bay Village.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online present for this case? All right, Madam Chair, back to you.
Great, thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. We didn't find any records in our records administration office, and there are no variances on file. Nothing of note in the more recent. Thank you.
All right. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the garage, minimum lot area, minimum lot width, maximum gross floor area, required rear yard, and minimum distance between buildings requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the area, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. All right.
This is an interesting little section of West 54th Street. Maybe Maurice, the overall aerial that you had a couple slides back might be best.
Sure.
It's not necessarily, so the lot is the lot that we're talking about right here. So again, this is a little bit odd that this section of the street, a lot of these parcels have multiple houses on them.
So this parcel has 3?
This parcel had 3 houses on it. The front house was renovated, the back house was renovated, the middle house was not in a state where it could be renovated and it was demolished. The lots, it was one parcel. The lot split went through and has been reviewed by planning commission and approved so that this can do actually working with the ownership group on the adjacent parcel next, of which those houses are in decent enough shape to actually renovate. So this particular project, because it's a new construction piece, it's why we need the variances for it. So each of these parcels has a shared access driveway that goes down through the middle site to the back site, through the front site all the way to the back side. Thank you, Maurice, appreciate that. Where previously there was not a garage, we wanted to work, at least for this new construction piece, to make sure that we included a garage into this one to keep cars off of that shared driveway piece as we go. We've waited a little bit of time before we come before you. This actually was reviewed and approved by HDRS probably a year or so ago. I remember it because I was at my son's graduation ceremony and I had a Zoom call for it. So it was right around this time in December that it was originally reviewed by HDRS. We did make some modifications to sign and work through since then with our planner to make some modifications to this. So again, there's nothing different probably from the variances that we've requested other ones, except for that this is an odd lot because it's in the middle of 2 other lots. That's what makes this one particularly unique. So our front yard and our backyard setbacks, where we're requesting variances from, are only because that's the one we're calling the front yard because it's closer to the streets versus the one that's the backyard.
Right. Really interesting. What was the
It
full
is.
lot depth?
The full lot depth, I don't remember, that's 72 feet, so.
40,
240?
Yeah,
235 or 240, yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah. And that this is the pattern of the street as well, too, is
Yeah.
also interesting as well.
Okay. All right, you want to show us an elevation just so we
Oh,
can
yes.
see?
So this one, again, even though it doesn't sit on the street, wanted to make sure we had a front stoop, and a front door that's addressable to the front. Again, because the lot is so small, we made our front porch, our kind of living porch on the second level where the living area is, still out to the front, of the building there. To garage is in the back. There is room for a, upper floor roof deck. It's actually a beautiful site because the next, not right next door, but the next parcel to the north there is a church. It has a really nice, beautiful spire. So I think that roof deck is actually going to have some nice, it's a really cool
Yeah.
spot. So
Yeah. Elevator?
no elevator. in this
No elevator,
roof deck.
walk up only, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the design of it, is more of a townhouse type style, only because we tried to make sure we got the garage into this.
Right.
particular- With the constraints of the lot and the shared driveway, having a place for the cars to be, out of the driveway, number one, and two, out of sight, I think is important for this.
Yeah, I would agree.
One question about the house in the very rear. Does that have access? How does that work with parking with shared driveway? You have a dotted line that goes beyond. Now, is there more concrete back there? I don't
Yeah, and
remember when I was back
I
there.
think one of the first pictures that you showed was
have that
the
on there?
more recent one that was taken, because, the owners did.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Get a permit to renovate the back house. It was salvageable, and extended that driveway to the back, just so you can see how it's gonna work.
I took that picture.
Oh, okay, so that was,
Yeah, that's all right.
so that was a runout.
Correct.
Okay, so no garage, just a pad.
That is correct.
Okay.
I have to say, when I was out there, it looked like they were renovating one of the buildings over on the adjacent lot with 3. Is this company also?
That is
Control those?
correct, right? So we're working with them on the renovation of the adjacent houses, as well too. And those were in it, even though they're not in fantastic, condition, they were in good enough shape to say that there was not any big structural issues with it like we had with this middle house.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments, board? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Holster, you want to take this one?
Sure. And I didn't hear any conditions, so, having heard testimony, I move approval of calendar number 23-202.
Madam Chair, Board Member Wilson, I would second.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson has the second. Would you like to call the vote, please?
Sure, Madam Chair, and that would just be noting that number 5 is not necessary, as the testimony shows that it's been reviewed by city planning.
Correct.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Brown? Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson? Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Fate?
Yes.
Calendar number 23-202 is granted. It will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellant a letter. Please feel free to contact our office on Wednesday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hope you feel better.
Thanks. I'm part of my wife's a kindergarten teacher, so
Oh,
she has built up immunity, but then
She get the RSV
yeah,
vaccine.
so she brings it home and shares it with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Thank
Well,
you very
thanks for spending the morning with us.
Well, that's all right. As you can see, everything we do is, there's always something different, and it gets exciting. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Have a good week. If I don't see you, happy holidays.
Okay, you too. All right. Everything on old business straightforward?
Yes.
Okay, so board, we have old business, number 2, number 3, 4, and 5 without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, there are no affirmations or any other items.
Okay, I didn't see anything, but it was much. Anything else, board? Okay,
I guess, do we have I know you've been doing this, Madam Chair, do we have all members present next Monday? I'm sorry, I'm not remembering.
thank you for reminding me. Anyone planning on being absent next week?
Nope, not me.
No? No? All right. Anyone need to recuse on anything next week?
I haven't read it.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed either, but I will certainly do that and advise accordingly.
Okay, great. If you'll let Ms. Kukla know if you have any recusal issues we're already to December 18th, next Monday.
The last one for the year.
It is